The plasma fire still burned in the ruins of New Mumbai Colony when Raza received the transmission. His hands trembled as he watched the holographic display flicker with images of devastation. Entire settlements reduced to molten glass. Millions of human lives snuffed out in an instant by the Zephyrian hegemony's bombardment. "Commander Raza," the voice of Admiral Chen crackled through the subspace communicator. "The Zephyrians have declared total war on humanity. 3 more colonies were hit in the last 6 hours. Kepler 442b, Proxima Centaurice," and the Admiral's voice broke. "Earth's lunar cities." Raza closed his eyes, feeling the weight of his species' survival pressing down on his shoulders. As the head of humanity's xenobiology division, he had spent decades studying the galaxy's deadliest ecosystems. But this wasn't about alien flora and fauna anymore. This was about extinction. "Sir," came a soft voice behind him. Dr. Naz Sharma, his chief research partner, stepped into the command center of their research vessel, the Terran Resolve. Her dark eyes reflected the same grief that consumed him, but beneath it burned something else, a cold, calculating fury. "Naz," Raza said, turning to face her, "have you seen the casualty reports from—" 2 billion dead in the first wave," she interrupted, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the numbers. "My family was visiting Luna when they struck." Her hands clenched into fists. "My parents, my younger brother, all of them." The Zephyrians had always viewed humans as an inferior species, soft, weak creatures who had stumbled into space travel through luck rather than evolution. Their crystalline forms could withstand temperatures that would vaporize human flesh, and their technology was millennia more advanced. To them, the human expansion into Zephyrian claimed space was nothing more than an infestation to be cleansed. But they had made one critical error in their assessment of humanity. "Raza," Naz said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, "you remember the Gaia protocol we developed on Kepler 438b? He felt his blood turn to ice. The Gaia protocol, a theoretical framework they had developed while studying symbiotic relationships between terraforming organisms and planetary ecosystems. It was never meant to be weaponized, never meant to be anything more than a scientific curiosity. "No. The ethics committee banned that research for good reason. The ecological implications alone. The ethics committee is dead," she said flatly. "Half of them were on Luna. The other half were on the outer colonies." She activated her personal data pad, showing him preliminary calculations. "But the framework is sound. Every world we've terraformed, every ecosystem we've touched, they're all connected through quantum-entangled spore networks we introduced decades ago." Raza stared at the data, his brilliant mind immediately grasping the horrifying implications. Humanity's terraforming efforts hadn't just created livable worlds. They had inadvertently created a galaxy-spanning neural network of interconnected biospheres. And if the Gaia protocol was correct, that network could be activated. "The computational power alone would be astronomical," he murmured, his scientist mind racing despite his moral reservations. "A biological quantum computer spanning dozens of star systems." "Exactly," Naz said. "And every Zephyrian world they've conquered from other species, every planet they've strip-mined and rebuilt, they're all connected to ecosystems that trace back to Earth-origin bacteria. Bacteria we can reprogram." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of desperate calculations and ethical wrestling. As more human colonies fell to Zephyrian bombardments, Raza and Naz worked tirelessly in their mobile laboratory, racing against extinction itself. The breakthrough came when they realized that human consciousness, with its unique pattern of quantum neural activity, could serve as a control interface for the galactic ecosystem network. Not just any human consciousness, but one that had been intimately involved in the original terraforming processes. "It has to be us," Naz said, looking up from her final calculations. "We've spent more time in direct neural interface with terraforming organisms than anyone else alive. Our brain patterns are already partially synchronized with the network. The energy requirements will kill us," Raza warned. "Even if we survive the initial interface, maintaining control of a galaxy-spanning biological computer, no human mind was designed for that kind of load." Naz smiled sadly. "Then we better make it count." They made their way to the ship's central laboratory, where years of xenobiology research had culminated in a chamber lined with living neural interfaces. organic computers grown from hybrid Earth-alien symbiotes. As they prepared the Gaia protocol for activation, reports continued to pour in of Zephyrian victories across human space. "Remember," Raza said as they donned the neural interface headsets, "we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting for every species the Zephyrians have enslaved, every world they've despoiled." The activation was unlike anything they had ever experienced. Their consciousness exploded outward, touching every terraformed world, every adapted ecosystem, every microscopic colony of Earth-origin life scattered across the galaxy. For a moment that felt like eternity, they were the voice of Gaia herself, Mother Earth awakened and vengeful. Through the network, they felt the Zephyrian worlds, worlds where crystalline beings had built their cities on the bones of conquered civilizations, never realizing that the very foundations of their empire were riddled with Earth life that had been waiting, dormant, for nearly a century. The terraforming bacteria responded to their command with frightening efficiency. On 1,000 Zephyrian worlds, the carefully maintained atmospheric processors began to shift, introducing compounds toxic to crystalline biology, but harmless to carbon-based life. The quantum-linked ecosystem began to reshape itself, turning every Zephyrian stronghold into a death trap of their own making. But it was the final stroke that would be remembered in the annals of galactic history. As Raza and Naz felt their human minds beginning to fracture under the immense load of controlling a galaxy-spanning consciousness, they transmitted one last command through the network. Every world that had been touched by human terraforming, worlds now controlled by the Zephyrians, began to bloom. Not with the sterile, efficient ecosystems the Zephyrians preferred, but with wild, chaotic Earth life. Forests erupted from crystalline cities. Oceans teeming with aggressive fauna swallowed Zephyrian industrial complexes. The very air became thick with pollen and spores that clogged their respiratory systems. In 72 hours, the Zephyrian hegemony collapsed. Their homeworld, dependent on resources from conquered territories, found itself cut off and surrounded by a galaxy that had literally turned against them. Raza and Naz died as their neural patterns finally overloaded, but their consciousness had already merged with the galactic ecosystem network. Some said that in the years that followed, explorers could still hear their voices in the wind on newly terraformed worlds, guiding humanity toward a future where Earth's children would never again face extinction alone. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Humanity might seem soft and weak, but they carried within them the fury of a living world. And when pushed too far, even the gentlest species could awaken forces that would reshape the very stars themselves. Gaia had spoken, and the cosmos would never forget her voice.